the workplace has changed so much, right? I remember when I first started working in the early days of the internet, things seemed very slow, or even back when, I was on a word processor, but things have changed so much recently with technology, obviously with the web and cloud and mobile phones. But generative AI, I think, is maybe bigger than all of them in terms of how we work, how we think, how we become productive in the workplace, right? And I think so much of how we work is dependent on what we work on, right? Are you using Google? Are you using, Microsoft? Are you using maybe Zoom, right? So that's why I'm excited today to have an industry veteran and a leader at Zoom to really talk about AI first workplaces. Like, what does that even mean, and what you actually need to know to still be productive and to really get the most out of your day. All right, so I'm excited for today's conversation. If that sounded like you, right? If you're wondering, how can I be more productive with all of these AI tools, and what does work even look like in the future? Well, you're in the right place. My name's Jordan Wilson, and welcome to Everyday AI. This is a daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping us all keep up with what's going on in the world of AI, because it is a ton, but how we can actually learn from it, understand it, and use it to get ahead to grow our companies and our careers. So thank you. If you are listening on the podcast, please go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for the free daily newsletter. Every single day, we give you everything you need to know, as well as recapping all of the important insights. So if you miss anything from our guest today, don't worry, it's going to be in our free daily newsletter, as well as the news. Yeah, normally we do this all live, but we got people joining us from all over the world, so technically pre-recorded, but debuting live. So enough chit chat. I am super excited to bring on our guest for today. So everyone out there, please help me in welcoming. There we go. We have XD Huang, the Chief Product Officer at Zoom. XD, thank you so much for joining the Everyday AI Show.
Jordan, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
All right, I'm excited. So let's do this. Let's start at the very end, maybe XD, and then we'll rewind our way back. But let's just start with the big question right now. What do people actually need to know about being an AI first workplace?
Well, I think the best way to share that story is to review the three eras we all went through. When I was, a student more than 30 years ago, I was using typewriter to write paper. And I remember if I have a spelling error, I got to use liquid paper to correct that. Microsoft really helped to change that with desktop computing. And I wrote a book using Microsoft Word, up to 800 pages, published by Principal. That was amazing. That was really, really a huge productivity lift, because the whole paper, the whole book, 800 pages, formatted in exactly the same, style we wanted. With the internet emerging, Google brought us Google Docs and collaboration improvement. That really just give a lot of people the benefit to have multiple people working on the same document and collaborated better. So the internet era created another productivity suite that are prominent as well, just like Microsoft Office that did lead desktop computing. With generative AI, this is absolutely exciting new era. In the generative AI, Zoom is transforming the company from a meeting company to a productivity company to be AI native productivity suite. I'll give you an example how I already benefit from AI Companion. Zoom introduced AI Companion last year. So really, I cannot live without AI Companion myself. Whenever I have a meeting, this is one of the most important business function. I do not need to bring my chief of staff to the meeting, like I used to do at Microsoft, where I was an Azure AI CTO. So AI Companion will transcribe and summarize everything we talked about in the meeting. The most important thing is AI Companion will identify next steps, action items I need to follow. Once I get that set of action items that will flow into Zoom docs. So if the follow-up task is for me to write a blog, Zoom AI companion will write the doc draft on my behalf. So I have the blog. I just need to touch it. I'm done. Can you imagine the journey from you have to worry about every single letter with typewriter to worry about the whole style, formatting every chapter with heading and the italic style. You use Microsoft Word, versus you collaborate with a number of people on the same document using Google Docs. Now is AI companion to write on your behalf from meeting to docs to chat. That whole life cycle is already there for you to save more time, to be more productive. And if you want to actually have some brainstorming idea, AI companion, as we launch in October, will bring not only work information, but also web information seamlessly together. It's so seamless that you can ask AI companion the question. AI companion will bring the right information at your fingertips. You can incorporate that into Zoom Docs.
So XD, like that was such a great, like, almost history lesson for all of us, right? And yeah, thank you for, sharing your background, working for, 30 years at Microsoft. Just goes to show you that you've been through, right? And you've been helping lead, this slow but steady kind of transition into the future of work. You brought up one thing, right? That you no longer need to bring your chief of staff, right, to meetings because you're using, Zoom's AI companion, right? Like even for me, that's personally something I love, right? Having, we've been paying, paid Zoom customers for years, and being able to talk to the Zoom AI companion for me in the middle of a meeting, right? Because let's be honest, everyone out there, you get distracted when you're in meetings, right? Especially when they're virtual, an important notification comes up, you're writing notes about something else. And I love going in there and saying like, hey, tell me everything that has been said so far and what I still need to, worry about. So do you think that this kind of AI first workplace that we're living in now and in the future, does it kind of give everyone a chief of staff, right? Like, is that kind of what it's like to be, an AI first workplace?
Absolutely. I really feel that this AI company is getting to know me every day. And not just meeting, we can democratize to help get the action item identified. If you need to write up something, you can brainstorm with AI companion. AI companion can really write a better draft. If you're not happy, you can be rude, say, go and work harder, make that, change. AI companion will just do that on your behalf. So it's really becoming a daily assistant that whether it's writing or reading, those are the two most important functions, right? And for anyone, if you want to be productive, you have to consume information. AI companion will help you to consume information with the context you are doing in Zoom Workplace. If you want to write up something, AI companion got the whole context, will also write on your behalf. A lot of people in the past, they go to ChatGPT to do things. I want to share the story. This is almost analogous to British invented the steam engine that started the first industrial revolution. If you run American business here on this side, you want to use that steam engine, you have to travel across Atlantic, get the power of the steam engine, then come back. We changed that. AI companion will actually be part of your experience. You can really get the context into AI companion seamlessly, whether it's from the work or web. It's seamless. You do not need to talk between web or work or travel across Atlantic to do something there, then come back. So we worked with Perplexity. We have a seamless integration to bring their capability on web search into the Zoom Workplace context. So this is really a game changer.
You kind of hit this big area of how we all work, right? So many of us traditionally have spent so much time in meetings, right? And then generally what we do is we read, right? And then we write, right? And there's obviously thinking and connecting of the dots, but like along that line, right? But I feel that those are three areas that we spend as knowledge working professionals. We spend so much time in those three areas. So, now with things like, AI companion, and we have, large language models built into everything, Perplexity for web search and all of these things. So I'm wondering, even for you personally, right? When you look at those, meetings, reading and writing, how has AI even changed how you work and how you spend your time in those three areas? And maybe, I'm guessing you've become more productive in those areas, and if so, where are you then spending that additional time, that maybe you used to spend more in those three areas?
So the one more thing I want to add, in addition to reading, writing, is to connect with people. Zoom is extremely good. We do bring people together. With Zoom Workplace and AI Companion, we help you to get information in the right place and the right time without traveling across Atlantic. With the example, analogous example I shared, right? Because of that capability to have information flow naturally, I want to emphasize into every corner of Zoom Workplace. Zoom Workplace got meeting, chat, email, calendaring, and docs. The action item extracted from the meeting or from Zoom docs or from your email is monitored, harvested, updated by AI Companion, just like your chief of staff. If you want to really get more productive, you have to focus on what is you have to do, what are the action items, what are the tasks you have to track. Zoom AI Companion is like a super AI agent. It's following and tracking the life cycle of the action item and help you to get work done faster, better. This is how we can dramatically improve productivity, not just focus on formatting the document, make this slide more beautiful, or enable two people editing one page. Those are all good capabilities. We love all of them. Google, Microsoft really created this amazing productivity suite that helped all of us. But now with Zoom AI Companion and Zoom Workplace, we're moving the bar much, much higher. We help you to focus on getting work done, focus on action item, is a system of action with a task-oriented tracking. And all the drafting, creating document, creating blog, or write a piece of email can be helped with AI Companion with all the context information incorporated from your history, what do you do? So we create this unique user interface. I want to highlight graphic user interface has been dominant for so long, right? It's the representative, whether it's Mac or Windows or Office. Graphic user interface is iconic. ChatGPT changed that. OpenAI conversational interface as defined by ChatGPT really opened the imagination for everyone. Zoom Workplace is trying to bring those two together, what I call AI-led user interface, or AUI. That will seamlessly combine graphic user interface and the conversational user interface seamlessly with information flowing from both. So with Zoom Workplace, if you can chat with AI Companion, you can get the work done, but the Zoom Workplace also can bring up traditional graphic user interface together. For example, if you want to schedule a meeting, the calendar application will be part of that experience. You can still interact with the graphic user interface, but you are right conversational user interface understand what is you are doing. So we are bringing those capabilities together. That's the second story I want to share. The most important one is we are taking this federated AI approach. That means we are bringing the best model from everywhere. Unlike many companies, they only use one model. we are using Google Gemini, Meta Llama, Anthropic model, and the OpenAI GPT-4 all together. Massage them in a way that will create the most relevant, most productive, action-oriented information flow.
Hmm,
That is the iconic differentiation of Zoom Workplace.
that's
This is why we think we will be the new kid on the block for productivity lift.
yeah.
We respect internet era, Google Docs, desktop era, Microsoft Office. They will be there. They're very, very important tooling. But this generative AI capability as represented by AI Companion from Zoom is going to be unmatched.
Hmm. This is why I love having, super smart people on the Everyday AI show. I didn't even know that, so you have a almost like a mixture of experts set up, right? With all the big model makers. Love that. And, using, I think it's so smart, to be able to apply the right AI solution at the right time in the right place. When you talk about productivity, right, you don't want to be using, model A if it's not really good at task B. So I think that's great. So one thing though that I want to ask you is, you are the chief product officer of a product
I'm
that,
sorry, I'm the chief technology
or,
officer.
oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you for, correcting me on that. So the chief technology officer for a product that hundreds of millions of people use every single day. How do you, how can you chart out the future, right? Because I think generally, when you're, trying to understand, hey, what comes next, and I'm sure, maybe your time at Microsoft is maybe a little different than your time at Zoom because things move so fast, right? Even those models that you just talked about, those four, kind of, large language model makers, they've all had huge updates in the last week. How can you keep up and kind of chart ahead, how hundreds and millions of people are working?
Mhm. They are really simple. There are only three things as I talked about. Let me just summarize. Number one, as we trying to create the AI backend, we not only use the best model out there, but we do federate them together. In addition to that, we're also creating our efficient small language model that will bring the context, everything to work together with the large language models in the cloud. So that is really a major differentiation.
Mm,
Set us apart from Microsoft and Google. Microsoft Copilot most use OpenAI GPT-4. It's a great model. And Google most use Gemini. It's a great model. But we are using Anthropic. It's a great model in addition to OpenAI and the Gemini and the Meta. So we build on the success of this powerful set of models in addition to Zoom's own small language model working as one system like agent to deliver value. This is why we offer unmatched experience to track the next steps from your meeting to curate and harvest that action-oriented information flow. That is the backend.
mm,
The second thing is really we are trying to bring GUI, graph user interface, traditional GUI, and the chat interface, conversational interface, seamlessly together in Zoom Workplace. We will bring that information flow from both to enhance productivity. Number three, because of the UI innovation and the backend AI innovation, we are going to focus on action-oriented task information flow. This means the whole life cycle of what you need to worry will be helped by Zoom AI Companion.
mhm.
The whole life cycle, I really want to emphasize that. It's like your agent. Focus on tracking the task you have to accomplish for the whole life cycle of that task. Those three things combined will make Zoom AI Companion and the Zoom Workplace the new kid on the block.
Mm. So, speaking of the whole life cycle, XD, one thing, I've literally, I've trained thousands of people on, using large language models. And, one thing I'm always talking about, especially when it comes to, AI first workplaces is being able to unlearn things, right? To unlearn good habits. As an example, I'm someone that generally during meetings, because I used to be a journalist, I would type a ton of notes, right? And now when I'm on Zoom calls, right, I don't. So I've had to go through this process of unlearning good habits and knowing like, okay, I have, large language models now that are doing certain tasks for me. What's your best piece of advice for people, maybe who are mid-career and they've been, successful, in the workplace for maybe a decade or two? What best advice would you have to them on how to really lean into, this AI first workplace that now we're all living in?
I think the best advice I have is make sure we all have that critical thinking, independent critical eyes, because AI companion or any other large language model, they do hallucinate.
Mhm.
So just like you're working with someone, the person may not be 100% accurate all the time. So that independent critical thinking is super important.
Mhm.
Always keep that in mind when you work with AI companion, which is a new species. Just like you're working with a new person, you have to maintain that critical thinking and the judgment. But for the drafting, to get the 90% of the work done is amazing. That 10% hallucination is going to be there for all of us to be aware and manage.
Mm. You know, I just thought of something that I generally don't think about, when you say, hey, AI models are always going to hallucinate. And I think, people have kind of gotten used to that. But, I'm curious, what maybe new skills, right? Because you're someone that's been, working at some of the largest companies for the majority of your career. What new skills are you looking to develop, right? Is maybe a new skill, being able to spot hallucinations in AI models? Or maybe are you even personally creating new creative skills that maybe you didn't have the time for previously? But I'm wondering, as we become more productive with tools like Zoom's AI Companion and your whole suite of products, what new skills are you even trying to develop right now?
Is the ability to ask the right question. That's related to critical thinking. And large language model, the output of large language model or generative AI really depends on what kind of questions you ask. Raising the right question will help you reach the right outcome.
It's interesting. That makes sense, right? Like, yeah, like I personally spend so much time, speaking to large language models, right? And I think sometimes I just trying to double down on productivity, right? It's like, oh, I have all this time, I should be more productive. But I think what you said there's important, right? You have to maybe use some of that extra time or headspace to think more creatively and ask the right questions. I think that's paramount. XD, we've covered a lot in today's conversation, right? You brought us through a history of the workplace. You gave us a glimpse into the future of these AI first workplaces, and you kind of shared how Zoom is fitting into that equation. But as we wrap up, maybe what is the one most important piece of advice that you have for people on how to still succeed and business leaders to grow their business in AI first workplaces?
I think the incumbents is going to struggle. And if you look in the history, it's always the challenger that can take a full advantage of this new forces. Generative AI really created new forces that level the playing field. So I'm excited that we are absolutely on the right time to take advantage of generative AI, create a productivity that will really help everyone on this planet to perform much better, to gain more time, and with better connection to almost everything, not just to people, better connection to almost everything.
Mm. Gosh, is anyone else pumped up? Is that just me? Like XD just gave me some hope for humanity, right? And I love that. The the challengers can take advantage of that. Because I think so many of us out there, we are in that challenger position. So XD, you just gave us, I think, some great advice on how we can really take advantage of the best of what generative AI has to offer. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to help us understand kind of the future of AI first workplaces. We appreciate your time and insights.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jordan.
All right. And hey, everyone, as a reminder, we went over a lot as we always do. If you didn't catch every single thing in there, because that one was jam-packed of great information. Yeah, maybe you didn't have your Zoom AI assistant dropping in, taking notes. Don't worry. We'll have that all in our newsletter. So make sure you go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for the free daily newsletter, and we'll see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.